Welcome, my gamertag is Cowboy Tori and I make videos on games. If you like these videos, feel free to like or subscribe to my channel. In today's episode, I want to try to answer why movie adaptations of video games fail, and as a side note, I want to explain why the television adaptation of The Last of Us got so much praise and is so good, and seems to succeed where others have failed. If you want to make a movie, the most important thing you need is a story. You could of course invent a story yourself, but writing such a story from scratch takes time. You need to come up with a plot, characters, events, and there is no guarantee that people will be interested in watching your story or movie. However, there is a shortcut you can take. You could buy the rights to a novel, comic, stage play or video game and adapt that story into a movie. This has some advantages. You don't need to develop the story yourself, and there is already a potential audience available in the form of people who read the books or read the comics or watched the stage play. There has been successful adaptations of books, comics and stage plays, yet video game adaptations always seem to fail. Why? Well, there are two reasons for that. First off, movie makers fail to understand the purpose of a story. In a movie, stage play, novel or comic, the story is the center. That's the purpose of the movie, the stage play, the novel or the comic. They exist to tell a story to the audience or readers. However, in a video game, that's not the purpose of the story. The purpose of a story in a video game is to propel the story. There have been plenty of successful book, stage and comic adaptations in movies, yet video game adaptations always seem to fail. Why? Well, there are two reasons for that. First, the movie makers fail to understand the purpose of the story. In a movie, stage play, novel or comic, the story is the centerpiece. We watch those movies for the story itself. The goal of the movie, the comics and the novels is to explain and to tell the story to the audience or readers. However, in video games, that's not the purpose of the story. In video games, the center is the player and his or her experience in the form of gameplay. The story in the video games has to take a backseat and has only one purpose: push or pull the player from experience to experience. So if you do what most movie makers do, is just simply copy the story from the game, you add nothing new to the story, which could entice gamers to watch your movie. And that's the second reason why video game adaptation seems to fail. They don't add anything new to the story. A novel adaptation adds the visualization of the story. Now you see what you read. A stage play adaptation expands the world of the story. Now you can see what happens in the other rooms outside that sole stage that you saw before. And in comic adaptations, you can add movement to the story and sound to the story. Yet, in most cases, video game adaptations don't add anything new to the story. Worse, because movies only have a maximum runtime of 2 hours, you have to cut things away from the 10 to 100 hour story that already exists within the game. So those are the two reasons why video games adaptations fail. They forget the purpose of the story and they don't add anything new to the story. And that's where The Last of Us seems to contradict my theory, because they seem to succeed in bringing this video game story to life and have some success with it. And there are multiple reasons for that. The first reason is the video game itself. We cannot underestimate the storytelling prowess of Naughty Dog, the game developer, under the leadership of Neil Druckmann. Neil Druckmann, who is, by the way, also one of the showrunners of the HBO series. Over the years, this development team, has created several games where storytelling got better and better and better. And their magnus opus was perhaps The Last of Us. Second, the actor's performance in the game is also top-notch acting compared to other games. All the cutscenes were acted out and recorded using motion capture. And so thanks to the talented actors we now get to see sort of life in the game, we get to see believable characters and not cardboard cutouts like in many other games. The third reason why they succeed is the selected format of the adaptation. A television show has multiple episodes and has more room than a movie to expand on the story. A movie only has 2 hours, while a television show has perhaps 10 episodes of each 50 minutes. And the fourth and final reason why the television show is so successful is in the case of The Last of Us, they added to the lore of the game. Because they have much more time, they can expand. There are things the video game's story can't show because it needs to propel the player from one action to the other. In the television show, you can take a slight detour, and a classic example is episode 3 of the show, where they expand on the story of Bill, something which is only hinted at in the game. So these are the 4 reasons why The Last of Us succeeds in adapting the game to the small screen. They had a good source material, they have good acting, they have the right format, and they expand on the lore. So let's hope that in the future other movie and television makers take these lessons to heart. Thank you for watching, good evening, good night, and see you in the next video.